Hey guys, it's Lori Seeley. I just wanted to hop in here real quick and talk to you today about something. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about poop again. And this time I'm going to share with you something that happened, something that is part of my story, and that I'm realizing now is part of way more people's stories than I had ever fathomed. And so I want to bring it out into the light and talk about it, okay? And that's constipation. Okay, people don't talk about poop enough. So I'm here to start the conversation, okay? But I think it's really, really, really important for us to understand that the way our digestion works is a really good clue as to what is going on in the rest of your body. Because if you are constipated or you have IBS or you have consistent diarrhea, those are all signs of inflammation in the body. Okay, so all disease starts in the gut. And so if there's inflammation in the gut and you have evidence of that through constipation or diarrhea, that means that there is most definitely inflammation elsewhere in the body. And unfortunately, doctors don't normally connect these two things, the inflammation in your gut to the inflammation in the other parts of your body, but they are very connected. So unfortunately, sometimes people are diagnosed with these horrible diseases and it's not necessary. Okay, so something that I want to bring up is that normally, not normally, always, a diagnosis is simply a name for a certain group of symptoms. And I feel like there was a conversation I was having in the group with someone that I was really enjoying, and this kind of it inspired me to talk about this today. I feel like we give those names of states of dis-ease that doctors call diseases. I think we give those names too much power. And I think that the general population has the wrong idea about what those names mean. So we think arthritis is causing my inflammation, or diabetes is causing my inflammation, or whatever the name of my disease is that I've been diagnosed with is the cause of my inflammation. And it's exactly the opposite. The inflammation is causing this list of symptoms, and it's named arthritis, or it's named diabetes, or it's named fibromyalgia. It's just a name for a list of symptoms. And if you take the power away from the name, you're going to understand that name is not what's causing your problem. Okay, fibromyalgia is not causing your problem. Arthritis is not the cause of your problem. It's the name of your problem. Do you see the difference there? It's the cause, not the name. It's the definition of your problem. It's not, I'm sorry, I said that wrong last time. It's the name of it, not the cause. It's the definition of your problem, not the cause, right? So, oh, Kathleen, thank you for commenting. So true. Currently battling mold candida. Yeah. And the doctor's trying to, no steroids. No, no, no. No, no, no steroids. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So you mentioned steroids. Sometimes steroids are necessary for triage or emergency care, right? Because somebody's so inflamed that it's going to kill them, or that it's going to put them just in bed for weeks, whatever. Sometimes you need some steroidal help, or something else, some sort of extreme version of a prescription drug to dampen your symptoms, to make it possible to then take a natural aim at dampening your symptoms. Does that make sense? So, so yeah, so lupus is an autoimmune condition that can totally be caused by the mold and the candida. So it's really great that you're, instead of like focusing on the lupus, that you're focusing on, no, it's the mold and candida that are, well, candida is kind of a form of mold fungus. Anyway, it's good that you're focusing on that and not on the lupus, because if you were focusing on the lupus, you might listen to doctors saying you need immunosuppressant drugs so that, you know, and it's just absolutely not the, in my opinion, not the best way to deal with something like that. You can deal with the cause of it, right? So I'm so glad that the strict diet has helped you so much, and I'm awesome. It's awesome that you're here. That makes me so excited, and I really hope that I can help you. Please, like, tell me if you have any other questions. So I want to get back to this constipation issue, right? Okay, so for me, when I was 39 years old, that's when the light bulb went on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm constipated. I had been constipated my entire life and I didn't know it. So for me, it was normal, which is not to say normal, but usual, to just poop tiny little turds 9 times a day, all the time. I thought I was winning at poop. I was like, you guys, you poop like what, twice a day? I poop 9 times a day. I'm winning. Well, guess what? It was all these hard little balls, which means that they're completely dehydrated. So any water that was in my poo, and I drink a lot of water, I always have. So any water that was in my poo to begin with has gotten reabsorbed into my body, along with the toxins that were in it that were meant to go out my garbage disposal, right? So all that stuff was getting reabsorbed back into my body, and I was feeling like, I don't know, I was just never hungry. I mean, I ate plenty because I figured, I was like, well, I should eat because I'm tired or whatever. But I wasn't ever like all that hungry because I just always had this impacted fecal matter in my intestines and in my colon. And I lived like that for 39 years. It was normal for me. And then every once in a while, like I had straight up IBS. Every once in a while, I my gut would just get like so inflamed that it was like, get this out of here. And so I would have diarrhea. And after that, I was like, give me some food. I am hungry. That's when I felt the best. This is not the way to live a life. And I just spoke with a person, like, I think it was a week and a half ago. I asked her, what does your poop look like? She said, well, you know, it's solid. And I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does it look like? And then I started asking her questions. I mean, she's young. She's not like, you know, she's not used to talking about poop the way I am, of course. And she was like, well, you know, it's solid. So I said, what does it look like? Does it look like tiny little balls? And she's like, yeah, that's what it looks like. I'm like, okay, you're constipated. So you have to understand, like, so many people are constipated, they don't even know. I might even be like, maybe light bulbs are going on there for you. Oh my gosh, that's me. Okay, so constipation encourages candida growth. It encourages pathogens. It encourages all sorts of pathogens, including like parasites and viruses and bad bacteria. And once we get our poop moving, you'll notice your immune system improves, okay? So there's something I want you to look at. I included a link to a page that has it's like an illustration of, it's called the Bristol stool chart. And it's a little, I mean, it's a little gross, but it's not photographs, so that's good. It's illustrations of poo. There's a scale 1 to 7. So, and 1 has pictures of the tiny little balls, and 7 is just like brown water, right? And I want you to look at that chart so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And I put a link to it. It's the one at continence.org. Goodness. And it's got a picture of the Bristol stool chart on there. And I want you to, you know, figure this out. Like, analyze it for yourself. How does your poo show up on a regular basis, right? Okay, so that's the very first thing. I want people to understand what the state of their poo is, because once you know what it is, you'll know if you're good, if you're like pooing on a regular, pooing good on a regular basis. I call it unicorn poop. Like you'll see me a lot of times when I comment or post or whatever, I'll put a little emoji with a kiss and a little heart, followed by a unicorn and the poop emoji. So that's me wishing you love and unicorn poop. So for me, unicorn poop is like the number 3 or number 4 on the Bristol stool chart, and it comes out like soft serve ice cream, and it's very easy to pass. It doesn't smell that bad. It's kind of light brown in color and easy to wipe up. Very little cleanup. That's unicorn poop. And I was inspired to call it unicorn poop by a really funny commercial that I saw for the Squatty Potty. You might want to look that up on YouTube, a commercial for the Squatty Potty, if you think stuff like that is funny like I do. If you don't. Okay, so now I wanted to get into one of my tips that I put in my blog this week. I wrote a blog this week about entitled 6 Tips to Solve Constipation Naturally. And I'm just going to talk about the very first one. And then if you want to learn the rest, just go to that blog post and read about it, okay? So, and I have a link to that in the notes too. So my very first, easiest fix, if this is your problem for constipation, is to chew your food. Now, I know we're all adults. We all have been eating since we were very small children, and you're saying, I chew my food. You know what? I thought this about myself. I would never try to insult you by making these suggestions. This is something that I had to work on myself, and I still sometimes I catch myself swallowing my food before it's at the point that I really should be swallowing it. So you really have to be very deliberate about this because, we live in this stressful, rushed society, and you have 5 minutes to eat and you chew so that it's just small enough to swallow, you swallow it. And then you have done your body a great disservice there if that's what you're doing. And this is like I said, I am guilty of this too. I try so hard not to be, but sometimes, you just forget because it's sort of a habit, right? So the thing is, digestion starts at your lips, in your mouth. And the biggest favor you can do to yourself to help with your digestion is to thoroughly chew your food. That means chewing it for no less than 20 seconds. You want your food to be a mashed up, unrecognizable paste that if you played that seafood game, seafood, it would be so gross, okay? That's what you want it to be before you're ready to swallow it. You don't want it to be recognizable as what it started out with when you took the bite at all, okay? Mashed up paste, mush, that's when it's ready to swallow. Because then you've done your job. Your mouth is where your mouth and then your stomach, I think, is sort of where big parts of the beginning of digestion happen, right? Because we've got the saliva in there with the enzymes that start to work on the food. And then we've also got, the teeth and the tongue moving it around and chewing it. And so that's the biggest favor you can do for yourself in regards to your digestion to avoid things like constipation or stomach upset or bloating. Sometimes some people, that's all you need to do. They're like, I'm bloated all the time. I don't know what to do. And then one suggestion to chew their food and they're like, oh, well, that fixed it. And so this is something that could really help a lot of people. Possibly the person who possibly you or the person who you're sitting across from at the dinner table could be like, chew your food. So that's the first tip from my blog, where I have 5 other tips, ways that you can solve constipation naturally. Okay, and these doctors like to say, we don't know what causes IBS. Well, this is one of the possible causes of IBS. So just keep that in mind. And then as always, if you're watching this in the replay, please comment on here, ask questions, tag me in it though, so I'm sure to see it, okay? And Kathleen, oh, thank you for hopping in with a question before I'm gone. I love answering questions live. It's wonderful when I get the opportunity to do that. Okay, so what do you think of coffee enemas to help with constipation or just in general? Oh, thank you. You follow my blog. I'm amazing. Yay. Thanks, Kathleen. Okay, so coffee enemas. I I like coffee enemas, but they're more getting at waking up your liver, which I suppose would help with constipation. I mean, it's just sort of like it's a little like upstream sort of thing, you know? And so I wouldn't say like if you're constipated, give yourself an enema. I wouldn't say to do that. So not like directly like that, like because giving yourself an enema to help with constipation is just a band-aid. It's not fixing the problem. It's dealing with, it's like, if you're like dying and you're like, there's nothing going to fix this, I need a way out right now, then yeah, I mean, do it. But know that you're not solving the problem. You're just like giving yourself temporary relief, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not, I mean, it's sort of like if you're using the day after pill for birth control, right? You're not solving the problem. You're not like, I mean, you might as well use a condom and make sure it doesn't break, right? So with this thing, it's the same kind of idea. Like you, I would say coffee enemas are awesome for the liver. They're awesome for detox, really. But if that's your goal, like maybe tell me if I'm understanding your question correctly. But if it's your thing to like, oh, I'm constipated, I'm going to give myself a coffee enema, that's not the answer. But if your goal is to is to nourish the liver and wake it up and help it to release toxins, then absolutely. And it's quite possible that toxins can be the cause of constipation. And so that could really be like an upstream fix for that. I hope I answered your question. I don't know if you're still here. So this has been great. Thank you, Kathleen, for asking questions today. I really appreciate it. I usually, with these Facebook Live videos, I usually like just hop in whenever I feel like it. Do you think would it benefit you if I sort of told you ahead of time before I was going to be in here so you could come in and ask questions? Let me know. Okay. So other than that, if you don't have any more questions, Kathleen, thank you for being here again. And I'm gonna sign off now, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye.